I'm being heckled here by. Thank you very much for your congratulation. Thank you very much for your questions.
ArriveCAN is not contributing to the congestion. In fact, ArriveCAN is a useful tool that helps verify the vaccination status of an individual before arriving at our borders.
What we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, is that we penetrate the cabinets.
Prime Minister spent $6,000 for one hotel room per night in London, and then spent that evening singing up a storm and partying in that fancy hotel lobby.
A video uncovered by Global News, which has been verified by the Liberal War Room as in fact containing images of Liberal leader Justin Trudeau in blackface makeup.
It's better to love than cry, which is exactly what the surprising duo, author Derek Smith and illustrator Kaidi Knipe, make you discover in their two books. Their first edition, How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom, reached the top spot in Amazon sale. This book is in fact a literary parody illustrated in cartoon which describes the various controversial action that Prime Minister Trudeau took during the Freedom Convoy that occupied Ottawa for just under 3 weeks last February. Unfortunately, this peaceful demonstration ended with an extremely frightening police action. Today, a commission of inquiry is being held to determine whether Justin Trudeau's invocation of the Emergencies Act on February 14 was necessary to put a end to this demonstration.
After speaking with opposition leaders, the federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
An act that was implemented for war measure used on citizens who wanted their freedom back. Remember to follow us at truckercommission.ca to stay up to date. Today, they are presenting their second production, One Face, Two Face, Blackface, Blueface, a parody based on a summary of political events that have occurred in Canada in the last year or more. There is a wing to the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, the Minister of Public Safety, Marco L. Mendicino, and of course, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. For the people interested, the two books are currently available to purchase on Amazon. I won't go any further than that. I will let Derek Smith explain it. So Derek Smith, we know you since your first book, Our Prime Minister Stole Freedom, and this reached the #1 in Amazon. And now you come back with Kaidi Knipe for your second book that's called One Face, Two Face, Blackface, Blueface. Can you explain a little bit why did you choose to call your book that name?
Well, ultimately, we just wanted to take the gloves off this time. And we wanted to really, with the reception of the first book, we did a poll on Twitter and we asked people if we were to do another book and we were to focus on a specific politician for satirical purposes, who do you think we should roast next? And the results were outstanding. Like, people had such a long list of different politicians because of things like the ArriveCAN, because of scandals and things going on in the House of Commons. So I just I spoke with Kaide and said, why don't we just do them all? Let's just do one book with everybody in one book and kind of get it all out at one time. And we wanted to keep the parody of a Dr. Seuss book. And we were trying our best to think of how do we mock a title that fits along the lines. And a lot of people call Jagmeet Singh Two-Faced. So we thought, okay, well, we'll put Two-Face in the title somewhere. And then we thought of Justin Trudeau's infamous blackface scandal. And we said, how about One Fish, Two Fish, Blackfish, Bluefish, or whatever the Dr. Seuss title is. So we said, okay, let's do that. And we switched the title around. So we've focused on this book being the different people with inside Parliament Hill and what they do for their job title.
What is the impact that you want to have on Canadian, but also like from people outside of Canada?
You know, I think the important thing and the reason that we started this project with the first book is that throughout the pandemic and throughout the last 2.5 years, we felt that people have really forgotten how to look at a joke and how to laugh. When you look at cancel culture, when you look at all the things going on in the world with suppression and the woke kind of agenda, comedy and satire seem to be lacking in the public eye. So we wanted to take a lighthearted approach to bringing people in to just be entertained, to have fun, to be able to laugh at some of the trivials and tribulations we've been through and find a positive light out of it. I think we've done that with this book and all our future books is that's the focus. I mean, primarily our goal is to entertain and to make people laugh. And if we can do that at the end of the day, then I feel we've done our job.
How do you feel about what is happening in politics in Canada?
I think our systems right now is broken. I think we have well, I guess they're titled as a leader in Parliament who has focused his career on dividing people. When you look at what's going on from province to province in terms of premiers starting to stand up and have their voice, people starting to bark back at these mandates and orders, I think really we're getting to a point of almost like a boiling point where people have just had enough. The one thing that I loved during the Freedom Convoy was that for 2 years, I started as a citizen questioning, is this Canada? Because Canada is usually a very friendly place. The people are friendly. People are open to ideas and different points of view, and we're very diverse. And when the convoy started, you started to see that return of Canadian energy from people, the passion, the being proud to be Canadian. And I think that, you know, when you have a leader that wants to just divide everyone and cause controversy and scandal after scandal and elitism, so to speak, where, you know, you get $6,000 a night hotel rooms and he looks down on the people, that's no place for somebody in Canada to run the country. And I think that what we should be looking forward to in the future is getting Canada back to a point where people can be proud of their country and less worrisome about the debts that we're carrying and the divisiveness that's going on.
So you would consider your book to be appropriate for which kind of range of age?
Well, I mean, again, with the first book, a lot of people associate the first book with children. And I've often said many times over that it was the theme of a children's book designed for adults. So we're not in the business of supposedly indoctrinating children or trying to get children on board with politics. I think that children should be growing up in a society where they're allowed to be children and they're allowed to make up their own minds and their own views and opinions. If parents want to read our books to their kids, if they find that it's age appropriate for their children, I'm all for it. So long as it's nonpartisan. I think that you should never try to sway your children one way or another on the political spectrum. So with that, I've heard, again, people have read the first book to their kids. We try to keep the content clean so that should parents wish to read our books with their children, they're more than welcome to. So I'd really say it's just for anybody who was willing to sit down and have a laugh.
For your next idea of book, do you have like some idea that you want to explore?
Absolutely. So for our next book, we have our next book coming out February for the 1-year anniversary of the convoy. We've reached out to Tamara Lich and gained rights to her likeness and her name to be used for our next book. So our next book's going to be entitled Hold the Line, The Ballad of Tamara Lich. I will iterate that she has no influence on the book or involvement because of her current legal situation. It was just nothing more than a right to use her name. This is a tribute to her, to the convoy, to everything that's gone on in Canada, just to really bring her story to light and maybe make some facts unaware to people more in the public spotlight so that they can kind of judge for themselves instead of the rhetoric that comes from mainstream media.
Bill C-11 that's coming up, are you afraid that that can impact you in the future with your creation of your book?
Well, I mean, on a global scale, I'm more afraid for how it's going to impact thousands of Canadians, let alone myself. I think the biggest problem with censorship is that you have, when you compare something like Netflix, when you go onto Netflix and see what the CRTC has invoked with so much Canadian content must be available versus worldwide content. I know often I hear people complain about, well, some of the stuff that's on there I'm not interested in, and a lot of the things they want to watch get filtered out. The biggest problem with C-11, when you look at YouTube, when you look at independent media, if you don't have your license, then you're ultimately shoved to the back of the line and you can't get your content out there. There's a lot of prominent Canadians that have a voice, that have good ideas, that have a good rhetoric, that aren't going to be able to get their communication out to people simply because they're being judged and wrongfully persecuted by the government as spreading misinformation simply because they don't like the information that's being shared. I think it's very damning of a country to do something like that to its citizens. It's very, I don't want to compare it to something as horrible as what China does with its citizens or anything like that, but it's along the lines of vast censorship. And I'm not really afraid of where it can go because there's always if there's a will, there's a way. There's always another avenue to get things out if you wanted to. You just have to look hard enough. But I think on the massive front, for content creators, for independent journalists, for authors, for musicians, C-11 is it's a kryptonite bullet for Superman. It's not good for Canadians.
We know that Kaide Knife, she's a really quiet person. Do you know a little bit more about her?
Well, I mean, Kaide and I are always in contact and we work very well together. And I've always told her, like, she's a big girl. She can make her own decisions as to how she wants to be involved. I'm always happy to share the spotlight, so to speak, with Kaide. The biggest problem that I have and that I've iterated to her father is that for an 18-year-old young woman who's in college, who's trying to build her future, the biggest problem that I have found is the number of people who constantly are posting on my YouTube channel about we're going to find out where you live or put your kids on camera. And my top concern is always doxing. You see people who get swatted. You've seen people who have had their lives turned upside down as soon as people that don't like those particular people know their information or their private information. So the biggest concern that we have, or that I should say I have for Kaide, I'm not sure about her father, I don't want to speak on his behalf, is she's in college, and cities like Edmonton that are a little more pro NDP or open to left sides of the playing field, as soon as people start seeing her face around places or on articles or things like that, my concern again is the backlash, because I've seen the backlash that I've gotten virtually. So for an 18-year-old young woman who's just starting out in life, I sometimes worry about the effects that might have on her. But again, I've always left the door open and said, if you want to come out, you're more than welcome to. I'm always happy to have her here. She's a partner at the end of the day. And yeah, more power to her. I think she's done a fantastic job. I'm proud of everything she's done. She has so much talent, and I'm very blessed to be able to work with her.
And so like now, the last word is for you. So what do you want to share as a message?
Well, I mean, the book is out now. I mean, go grab your copies, share it out, let people know it exists, let people know it's there. For anybody who's wanting more content from me, I am on YouTube over at Unacceptable Fringe. People can find me on Twitter at UnacceptFringe. And yeah, just happy to be here and happy to have our time together. And I really thank you for having me back on your show.
As you know, the Commission on the Inquiry of the Invocation of the Emergencies Act is still happening in Ottawa. It will finish pretty soon, so you don't want to miss it. You can still be up to date through our website that's called truckercommission.ca. You can review all the live stream and all the report related to this commission. And if you want to help us that we can continue our coverage, you can chip in generously. Thank you very much.